I'm meeting Iman Gadzhi tomorrow in London. I've been invited to an event, fairly fortunate really. It's going to be quite a small event. I might have a chance to ask him a couple of questions. And somebody in my comments asked me to ask him a question about self-image and about dealing with limiting beliefs. It's a really great question because what I've found is, and I've put this in my last few YouTube videos, is that without a healthy level of self-esteem, which the more I've gone on my journey, the more I've realized very, very few people have it. A good, healthy self-esteem, really. A lot of people, it's in a minority the number of people I've met who actually come from a family where the parents really championed them and taught the child to have good self-respect, and you carry that into your adulthood. Unfortunately, again from my experience, and these are generalizations, unfortunately the people I've seen who do that, the parents, tend to be from wealthy families. Not always. I know wealthy families where this is definitely not the case, but generally speaking, the guys I've seen come from families where they don't have much. Fairly regularly the parents don't have good emotional intelligence, and that's most adults, I would say. They don't build their kids up. They're very critical. They raise them with a fixed mindset. It's just, that's my observation, okay? So I don't want to offend anybody here. That's just what I've seen. And so what you need to do is, as you get older, you need to take it on your own shoulders to basically resolve that, to deal with that, and reparent yourself. There's a school of psychology or a theory which talks about inner child theory, which when I first heard about it, I thought this is
I'm sorry, wait about it.
sorry. I'm dog sitting a nervous dog, and whenever another dog goes past, she absolutely freaks out. Yeah, you got to reparent yourself basically, and one way to do that is to imagine how you would talk to your own son. And if you're a healthy person, you wouldn't want to break your son down and criticize them. If they tried to walk and fell over, you would say, well done, let's go again, you're learning, you're getting better, that kind of thing. So there's a great book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, which I think is essential reading, unless you're one of the lucky ones who was raised with a growth mindset. That's essential reading. You should be reading all the time. You've got to build the habit. I used to find reading super hard, so start with one paragraph a day if you need to. Celebrate each one of those wins. Excuse the noise, this is definitely London. Yeah, okay. So they say after living in London for 10 years, you start to crave a cottage in the countryside. You really appreciate peace and quiet. Anyway, so yeah, you should be reading all the time. And if you need to start with one paragraph or one page a day, that's what you do. That's what I had to do. I probably struggled with some form of ADHD or whatever, but as I did a lot of reading and let's say work on myself, those symptoms seem to dissipate, along with me scheduling time to read every day and making that a ritual. So Atomic Habits is great for that. But yeah, essential reading. Mindset by Carol Dweck. The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, which is on my next hit list, is supposed to be kind of like the daddy of self-esteem books. Psycho-Cybernetics, Iman Gadzhi talks about that, is all about self-image. I did a whole video on that. And it's essential. Your self-image, how you see yourself, dictates everything. It affects how you respond to the world, how you believe, your belief structure, which determines how you act. So if you believe that people don't like you and that the world is dangerous and everybody's the enemy, you will treat people in either, you won't be so open and warm. That will tend to reaffirm what you believe, because people you'll attract the wrong kind of people to you, or people will be a bit cold to you because you are protecting yourself, understandably so. Maybe you had a very bad traumatic experience in childhood. But psycho-cybernetics, a key one. There's a clip with Tony Robbins where he's interviewing Theo Von, and they talk about he obviously has very poor self-esteem, Theo Von. That's probably why he's trying to make everybody laugh. I think he had some I think his dad was he an alcoholic? I don't know. But all of this stuff often stems back to childhood, unfortunately. But you can resolve it. You may need to reparent yourself. There's a book called Healing Your Inner Child by, is it Linda or Lucia Capaccioni? I've not read that, but I've heard, be careful with that. You know, any inner child work, you might need to do that with a professional if there's serious wounding back there. But just be really aware of your self-talk, and if you're savagely criticizing yourself. I talk about this at the end of my marathon video. I ran a marathon. You'll see me on the front of the video on the left-hand side of the thumbnail with both of my arms above my head, like doing an overhead press. It's called Iman Gadzhi 12-day marathon mindset challenge or something like that. The last 4 minutes of that, I really tried to describe something I noticed in myself. I ran a marathon and I gave myself like half a second of celebration time, and then my mind just automatically went into criticizing myself. Another resource, Peter Attia, talks about negative self-talk with who was he speaking to at this time? I think it was either Andrew Huberman or Chris Williamson. Peter Attia clearly has done some work on himself, the way he talks. I think that's open knowledge. But his therapist asked him to record all of his negative self-talk on his voice notes, right? What that gets you for 6 weeks, what that gets you to do is it gets you to become aware of your self-talk. That's the first step to all change, is awareness. Self-awareness is incredibly powerful. All right, so he named it. So when you give it a name, you dissociate from it. So he named his Bobby Knight. It's a reel on YouTube. If you look up Peter Attia self-talk, you'll probably find it. That's Attia. So that is a powerful technique. But the thing is with all these self-help techniques and stuff is you've got to do them. You've got to actually do the work. It's work. But if you want to be free from it, it's 100% worth it. I've got a dog yanking on I'm dog sitting. She's yanking on my arm there. So yeah, come here. There's some resources. 6 pillars of self-esteem. You've got to get your self-esteem up. You know, I was kind of raised to believe that humility means putting yourself down, and preferring the other person means talking absolute crap about yourself and then esteeming people higher than yourself in an unhealthy way. That's completely wrong. You should, if you come from, so I was raised in a church, and a lot of people who experienced that had a misunderstanding or bad teaching. And if you read, if you're interested in the Bible, I know a lot of people who are reading the Bible at the minute who are not Christians, but I think it's a good thing to do. Yeah, Jesus himself said, love your neighbor as yourself. What he did not say is love your neighbor and hate yourself. That's a misunderstanding of it. So have respect for yourself. Don't be arrogant, but have respect for yourself, esteem yourself, and then pour from that full glass. An empty glass, you can't give anything positive to the world. If you hate yourself, you'll hate other people because you'll just be hurt and angry inside. I hope that kind of helps on that topic. It's not scripted at all. It's probably all over the place, but yeah, there are some resources you might need to watch out a couple of times. 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, Mindset by Carol Dweck, Tony Robbins, Theo Von on identity and self-esteem. Definitely worth a look. Peter Attia, look up Peter Attia self-talk on YouTube, and whatever else I said. Becoming aware of your voice. So recording it on your notes, and then talk to yourself as if you would your best friend or your son. Very raw on the fly video here. I'm crossing a road with a dog attached to my arm.